the volume of clearly bad actors loudly complaining about being mistreated on Blue Sky makes me think, hey, maybe it's a pretty good place.
Butterscotch.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 495 of Coffee with Butterscotch, the game dev comedy podcast of Butterscotch Shenanigans. I'm Seth and I'm the games programmer.
I'm Madam, I'm the miscellaneous programmer.
I'm
trying to
get that fast. Trying to get it fast.
I feel like you got it. Sam almost got it. Missed a couple of consonants in there, but it's a work in progress.
You know, needs just consonants for the birds.
Bye.
Vowels. That's the meat of the word.
Yes.
You know, vowels. That's where the magic happens. Mm-hmm. Also, this is a show where we talk about life, business, and working in the games industry. Today's November 22 by 4.
It's 11/22. That's fun.
Yeah. The day is. Wait, is that fun?
Could be.
Oh, you tell me. I thought it was fun. I guess not.
I think it's pretty good.
Jeez.
The day is twice the month. And you know what they say about that? I don't, but I think you might know.
I do.
What they say about that.
I don't. Maybe someone knows, though.
But,
they can tell us.
I do know it, but I'm going to keep it a secret.
Oh, every time, Adam.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe next episode we'll hear about it. There's a little teaser.
Yeah, probably.
Now, also, before we get started, we have a warning. There's going to be profanity in this show, and we'd also like to thank our recurring supporters over at moneygrab.bscotch.net. Thank you so much for your monthly donations to help keep the podcast going.
Yeah,
I feel like
the holidays are coming up, so if you feel like throwing some extra money into our bonfire of money, it's a good time to do it.
Yeah, we just burn it, just straight up, and the flames must go higher.
It's a statement about capitalism, and we'd like you to join us in making that statement.
Yes.
They say that the best gift that you can give to yourself is giving money to us.
Yeah,
they
do say that.
That's an ancient saying.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I feel like it's kind of weird that we always have like the profanity warning right next to the donation thing. It feels like there should be a gap.
It's
there,
a swear jar.
You know?
It's like a swear jar. That's actually what it is. People pay us to swear.
Every time we swear, people donate. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Or for those who don't like profanity, every time we don't swear, you could give us money.
Give us 10, maybe 15 cents per episode.
Yeah. Well, we do technically swear. Fewer of our words are swears than not swears.
It's got a point.
We got to get those numbers up.
Yeah.
So we're kind of in a weird spot right now because we have Thanksgiving break coming up. Mm-hmm. We're going to be on break next week. So we're recording a double decker episode. Two back to back. Yep. And that means that we, for the first time in many moons, we know what we're going to talk about next episode.
Wow.
Yeah. Which is that Sam's gonna have a story next episode, but we're saving it. So, just a little teaser.
Baby story.
It's a baby story. So now your challenge, dear listener, as somebody who presumably listens once a week, is try to remember the cold hard fact that Sam's going to tell you a baby story in a week.
Hold on.
Yeah, and you got to spend the whole week being like,
just wondering.
I wonder what is this story? What is this baby story going to be about?
Mm-hmm.
There's no way to know.
Nope.
You're just going to have to wait.
Well, there's one way, which is to like and subscribe.
That was good. That was pretty good.
Don't forget to hit that bell. Whatever the fuck.
The bell?
Right,
wait,
now,
is there a bell?
There's a bell on YouTube. There's like a little notification bell.
Oh.
Because for some reason, people opt into getting push notifications, I guess. Like fucking weirdos. Like,
it's actually, they changed it. So they were like, well, you can subscribe, but we're not actually going to tell you when someone you subscribe to releases anything. If you want to do that, you have to subscribe and hit the bell. Some would say perhaps not the best system.
So it's basically they were like we had switched to Instagram, which is like the reason I hate Instagram so much is because and Facebook both. I mean, there are many reasons, but the main one is if I go there,
the reason
it only shows me stuff I've never cared about or heard of or seen before, and that's it. That's the only thing. So
maybe once you see it 300 or 400 times, you'll start to care.
It hasn't happened yet. That just makes me leave.
Yeah. Just haven't seen it enough. You just got to really get in there,
Well, speaking of social media, that's actually kind of the first thing, the first thing we'll talk about, the little news item.
Yeah.
We got a Blue Sky account, Studio Blue Sky account. I didn't know this until right as we were planning this episode.
Yeah, Seth's not on the Blue Sky train yet, so he didn't need to know.
I'm turbo Amish with regard to social media.
Yeah.
I'm just not even in it.
He only cares when he goes on Rumspringa.
That's right. That's right.
All about it. All social media, all the time.
Tweet from
Yeah,
the back
which
of a
is,
decked out
I think
couch.
it's like when you turn 40, you get to be on social media for like 6 weeks,
Yeah.
and then decide whether you want to continue with that or go back into your cave.
Yep,
you know?
yep.
So I still got a few more years before I get my Rumspringa.
Yeah, but I mean, as a person who accidentally gets sucked into the internet, I've talked in the past about removing Chrome from my phone, etc., make my phone into a dumb phone. I'm always on this quest, you know? I think it's like, that worked really great until baby number 2 popped out, and then kind of need my phone around a lot and Google stuff late at night when weird shit's happening with babies. So a bit more of a struggle on my end. So I was like, well, Adam's been hyping this up as a thing where it's like, you can actually control what you're seeing. Blue sky. Yeah. It's like Twitter, right? It's Twitter, but very importantly, because you can actually control the shit you're seeing, then you can actually have a good time on it. And like,
you can not be harassed by weirdos.
Yeah,
I mean, you can
like
a little bit, but then you got to block. You can block them, and then you're good to go.
You're good to go. And like, and you could also just block things based on like literal words. You know what I mean? Or like mute things based on words. So if someone says something about, I don't know, any politics thing, you should be like, I'm not here for this. As opposed to having to be like, I guess I'm here for any opinion.
I never want to see posts about X.
Correct.
No, X meaning, I'm talking about Twitter, but like a variable name. Insert the thing you don't want to see.
But X might be one of the values of X.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, I literally put the word Twitter in my mute list because I was like, I don't care about people complaining about this. And I just never see it.
Yeah, even when they're not complaining, because right now there's this huge, well, I guess this is not going to be a week later, but presumably it will be continuing. There's this huge exodus from Twitter over to Blue Sky. And as everybody arrives, they have to, provide their commentary about the switch that they're making. And so
they can't just show up. They have to write a fucking novel about it.
And it's mostly, and I get it, they're pumped about this new experience, but like, it's the whole thing of like one, because you're experiencing it as one person experiencing the many, right? And when it's the one to many thing, and that's all everybody's fucking talking about is doing this, you're like, I get it. We're all excited to try this thing out. I know you need to say that, and that's great, but I just don't need.
I'm not going to listen.
So I muted the word Twitter also, and that cleaned things up.
Yeah,
nice.
So that means you can actually define the space in a way that's like you're saying, I'm here for this particular thing, right? So in my case, it's like, I'm just here for like art, animation, and like game dev stuff.
It means you're not reliant on the platform to come in and put up its own rules about what people are allowed to say to you, even though
correct.
Right. You could say like, here's just stuff that I don't want to see. Yeah, so that means like if people come in there with a bad attitude and start dropping nonsense in there, or there's going to be a huge number of people who will just never see it because they said they don't want to see it.
Well, I think it also like for me, it's like there's a lot of people who, especially on the art side, who I want to see their art, but I don't care about their hot takes about literally anything. Do you know what I mean? I don't care. I've never cared. And so that's
my general position on social media is I want to hear about everybody's like expertise and their special interests and all that
I want to see the cool shit, right? Yeah. I don't want to hear about whatever newest tempest in a teapot things happening. And so
because nobody blogs anymore, then like you still got to find it on social media, but so much of it isn't that. And then it's just
so the downside, like the reason I've never actually ended up using something like Twitter is because you follow people because you're like, oh, they make cool stuff or whatever. But then you also get
then they just start whining.
Yeah, well, just whatever. I'm like, I don't care, and I don't mean that in a mean way. I'm just like, I'm not here for this. It's like if I'm going to like an art symposium, I don't want people to get up on stage and just whine about something else, or even tell me about their cat. I don't care.
It's not even about whining.
Exactly, it's not about whining.
It's just talking about stuff that is only they care about.
It's just what you're there for.
Yeah, or whatever you're there for. Yeah. So I took like an hour or so kind of figuring out how those various lists and stuff work, did some poking around, and it's just pleasant. So
I will say, as someone who is incredibly dubious of all social media, I don't have a Blue Sky account.
Yeah, remain dubious.
Yeah. I don't have a Blue Sky account, and I don't plan on making one at this point. But I can see one big upside of the platform, aside from what you guys were just talking about, which is that it does not have ads. Yeah, so one of the qualities of any ad-driven platform is that the line must go up, right? So they have to keep making profit, which means they have to keep driving engagement. They need people to be spending more and more and more time on the platform than ever before. And if they stop having user growth, then they need the existing users to glue themselves to the platform even more so that they can sell more ads, right? So the platform, like what Blue Sky is doing, is they don't have ads. And instead, they're going to be doing some kind of like custom domains. So instead of like
they
already have it. So they're going to do like paid domains or something like that.
Well, it's basically so you can buy
like
your own domain name on the internet, right? So like I own adamcoster.com, for example. Yeah. So Blue Sky, so you do that through what's called a registrar. And there's many of them. You've heard of GoDaddy, which is the grossest one. And you've also heard of things like maybe Namecheap or Cloudflare, or anyway, there's a jillion of them, and they sell domains at different prices and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's not like a domain name is free on the internet, and then you just like whoever gets there first is like you buy the domain.
Yeah. So Blue Sky is basically operating as a registrar, where you can buy domains through them, so that they basically get the revenue from doing it. And then you get to, but it's still like the domain has nothing to do with Blue Sky. That's just your own thing, right? But then because Blue Sky has that cool, it is my favorite like ownership verification system out there of just being like, hey, prove that you own this domain, and that's it, and that's automatic. You just provide that info, right? So my handle over there is just adamcoster.com because that's the domain I have. There is no question when you see an account, is that mine? Is that me, Adam Coster? Right. Because there's my domain right there, and you can go to the address, or you can go to that on the internet and be like, oh, that's also Adam Coster's blog.
So that means, so for example, like, it's like I was reading an article by somebody, I think from the BBC or something like that. And they were like, yeah, so I think the long-term plan here is to use these domains as a form of verification and revenue. So like if the BBC says, hey, we want to verify our domain at Blue Sky, so we'll pay a subscription to Blue Sky.
But they wouldn't have to.
They wouldn't have to, I think. Mm-hmm. But like for the bbc.co, whatever domain, and then people who have email addresses with that domain can become verified on Blue Sky as well, as sort of like these people are officially associated.
Yeah, and that would be the part that's not like currently in the system. So that would be the part that like Blue Sky.
But that's kind of a longer term plan.
That's cool.
Yeah. So the idea there is like, so instead of monetizing engagement, regardless of the quality of the engagement, right, which is the current model of social media, they would be monetizing authenticity.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Which is like
smart.
Good.
Yeah. And they were also
then it's like it doesn't. Then they don't care if you're looking at it for 300 hours a week. All they care is that what you're posting is high quality and legit and adds something to the platform, right?
Yeah, they were also talking about a pro plan, I think, or something where you could like have bigger file uploads or whatever the fuck. So
a Discord Nitro style.
Yeah, so I think it is a big question mark right now in terms of like what the long term is going to be, because it's also kind of a weird company shape in terms of like the details of how it's organized and stuff. But it is a for-profit company type, right? But for-profit companies don't have to operate grossly; they just do if they're public.
They do if they're driven by ads.
But even then, only if they're public, right? Because that's the only time where your job is to make the line go up. So as long as they stay private,
but Twitter is not public. It's currently
but
private.
it was, and it
was,
and the line has to go up because Elon's on the hook for $42 billion for buying it.
Somehow the line is going down rapidly.
Somehow. I think though what's most interesting about what's currently happening, I think the reasons we're commenting on. So. Usually when you have a new social network emerge in any kind of way that's like more than just a flash in the pan, right? Where it's like there's a lot of social networks appearing all the fucking time, actually, because people build them hoping that they're going to be, the next.
And especially once Elon took over Twitter, because everyone was trying to find a place to flee to. Yes. And so there was like every 2 seconds there was a new one like, hey, we're the one.
Yep.
We're the one.
So you had like Threads showed up. You have which is like the Instagram or Facebook one, etc. But it's like all of these things happen. But usually what ends up happening from a person or a brand standpoint is that you're just like, fuck, I guess I have to go put my stuff also over there, right?
Yep.
I got a Twitter account,
yet another thing.
Yeah, I got a YouTube account and Instagram account. I gotta go put more of the stupid shit all over the place and like slightly reformat it.
Well, especially because they all behave as these horrible closed systems where they make it as hard as possible to do any kind of interop and like cross post and all that kind of stuff. So it's just
what's interesting currently is that with all the stuff happening on the Twitter side is that people are actually leaving, right? Yeah. Which is very different. It's very different.
They're closing. Actually, I've had a Twitter account forever, which I haven't used since 2017. I just deleted it. The other day.
So like, I mean, but like you're a person like doesn't use it. But you got
there are big accounts that deleted all of their tweets from like 15 years and had like 100,000 followers and then just moved completely.
Like, just this place fucking sucks.
Yeah.
Just get out of here.
That's a very different, right? That's a very different thing than usual where it's like, oh, you know, we're just like establishing a toehold here in case this one, I guess, explodes and now we have to like be a part of it. It's very different than being like literally burn it down over there.
It's a principled move. It's to say like, even though we think that this platform might have some value in the sense that we have reach because we have followers, et cetera, it's not worth us being involved in this community anymore because it's just a bad place and we don't want to be part of its growth.
Yeah.
We don't want to be part of its engagement, you know?
Yeah. I think an interesting thing about it, because it's exploding right now, is until literally like this week, maybe last week, even though there were people doing that on principle, and they were like still very happy about the move. And we were already hearing even like a few months ago that people with pretty big accounts are coming over to Blue Sky and being like, I don't have as many followers, but I'm getting more engagement. Like I'm just getting more people and better engagement, you know, to the stuff that I'm posting. And now, actually, as of like the past week,
not bots,
because it's not bots and horrible people. But now, even in the past week, people are coming over and just like the moment they arrive, have like as many followers as they had, and also, you know, far more engagement. Like the platform sort of like arrived in the last week, basically. And it's been really cool to watch that happen, just to watch it suddenly be where everybody is.
And there's a couple of interesting things that I've noticed because so if I try to like look at a tweet, like I'll read a news article and they're like, somebody tweeted this thing. If I click on it, like all I can see is the tweet, right? Because Twitter is now locked down and like you have to log in and shit in order to read replies and stuff. That's not true on Blue Sky. So there's been times where like people have linked me to a Blue Sky post and I can actually like read it and see stuff. And I can also like interact with stuff on the platform without making an account. So there have been times where like when these guys are like, oh, we have a studio Blue Sky, we should talk about it. I was like, oh, let me see. So I go to the website. And then I just search on the sidebar for Butterscotch Shenanigans, and I just found our page just like that. I didn't have to know the handle, right? So searchability is actually very good. So like I was able to find Sam's page just by typing his name, and it was right there. But on top of that, Adam, you're talking about this idea of like these block lists that you can join, which I think is amazing.
The moderation is actually what's making all of this.
So the concept is what it's like there are these block lists that you can subscribe to.
Yep. Yeah.
And if somebody gets added to that block list, then if you're a subscriber to the block list, you'll just never see their shit. Just never.
Amazing. Yeah. I subscribe to like the crypto AI
there's one called Crypto Dweebs.
So it's sort of like, it's like in the past, it was like if there was a bad actor, a scammer or whatever, then every person that they fucked with had to individually take action to block that person. Yeah. But now if you're subscribed to a trusted block list where you're like, okay, I trust that like whoever's managing this block list, however that works.
And you do have to be careful with that because there's also already some kind of like ops of people coming in, trying like pretending like they're making a block list that people would like, and then starting to like add people they hate onto it and like that kind of stuff.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
So you have to.
There's always bad actors.
Yeah, you got to be a little cautious about it and don't just like gleefully subscribe to every block. Because like I was tempted every time I saw a block list to be like, fuck yeah. And I took myself off of a few after hearing some kind of weird stories about them, you know. But there's some good ones though. There's some real good ones.
Like if I was on there, then like I would ask Adam or somebody, be like, do you guys have a block list that you do you have block lists that you're adding people to, and can I just subscribe to it? So because I figure if you guys block somebody, I probably don't want to see that person's shit either. You know? And so there's just all these little things that just means if you come into this platform with the intent to cause problems, you're just going to make problems for yourself and not very many other people.
Yeah.
You know,
it's much harder. You actually get, because you don't have the scale problem. Yeah. Where it's like you're saying, because you can subscribe to a block list, it's not the case that every individual person has to manually sort of block any given troublemaker. Right. Yeah. But instead there's like community resources. It's much more, to me, it's much more like a public square actually.
Like it's weird. It's I haven't been on Reddit in quite, like I've been on Reddit maybe just like a few minutes a day at most over the past couple of weeks, because it's also hitting a point where it's just overwhelmed by bots.
Yeah.
Just absolutely overwhelmed. And the weird thing is, you'll see a comment thread, right? And then somebody will reply to another poster and they'll be like, just so everybody knows, the poster above me is a bot, right? And it's like, how is that? How is there no mechanism so that I can be like, hey, put me on a list where I don't have to read posts made by bots, you know,
nice.
Or where somebody can flag an account as being a bot, right? And so it's like all the bot activity that you see on Twitter is completely undone by something like a block list mechanism, right? Yep. Because if people will block bots, they'll get added to block lists, and then nobody reads their stuff anymore.
Yeah, and because you don't see stuff that you like, because still by default you see stuff that you said you wanted to see, right? And you can broaden that a bit to like see more stuff and like and have things become a little more random, right? If you want to. But even then, it's still like stuff that are from like people that your friends that you're followed, like it doesn't extend like all the way to full chaos, right? And so because of that, you're not likely to see, because it was one of the big differences of a fully algorithmic system, right? Is that it just shows stuff to people to see what sticks is kind of part of how those things work. And so you just see random stuff. And so if you're being overwhelmed by bot accounts, then you're going to see an overwhelming number of bot accounts because, right? But if you only see stuff exactly, yeah, because now most of the new accounts that have content on them are from robots, right? But if you're not opting to, if you don't know those accounts exist, then you won't see them. So it doesn't matter how many bot accounts. So I don't doubt for a second that Blue Sky is now suddenly getting filled with bots because where there's people the scammers follow, you know.
Dead internet theory.
Yeah, but it doesn't.
Are they effective? Less so. You know,
they just can't really do much. Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely been an interesting thing to see. And I think if basically, I know for me, like when we talked about in previous episodes, as a person who's sort of, I guess, struggled with like control of content, like consumption on the internet, whether it's through Twitter, Reddit, whatever, Instagram, like making it so that it's the thing that I'm doing in a way that I want to be doing, as opposed to like that suddenly feels like it's happening to me, you know? It's, for me, I'm trying to use it in sort of, I equated it like going from cigarettes to, I don't know, vaping, or nicotine gum or something, you know what I mean? Or it's like, I'm not trying, I still personally have the opinion that like, I don't really want to be here actually, but like if I can shape it in a way that makes it where it's essentially delivers part of what I clearly am searching for, you know, mentally in that space, but not with quite as much toxicity, then it's a nice stepping stone maybe for me, you know?
So I think, you know, like we talked, I think we talked, what was the last episode about like how these kinds of systems just get completely overwhelmed by bad actors and stuff. Right. And when I think back to sort of like, what was it like to use the internet in like 2005, right? And it was kind of this like delightfully weird place where people just did cool stuff and then like made websites about it, right? Yeah. And that was kind of it. And it was like, there wasn't like, things didn't go viral because things were so decentralized that there was no like tweet that would get retweeted 3 million times. That wasn't
things would go viral by being like picked up by the news, and you would go open up a newspaper and it would tell you about
by
a
word
website,
of mouth,
maybe, you know?
like by actual word of mouth, like in the real world, people would tell each other about stuff they saw on the internet, right?
Or
so it was so it kind of like interacted with the world, but it was kind of cool because it was like this just like chaotic churn of creative energy.
Yeah.
Right. Like just like weird stuff would pop up and it was just kind of fun and weird and interesting. And as things got more centralized and algorithmically driven, then it just became about engagement, which then it becomes about outrage, right? And so what I'm interested in, this is where I'm like, you know, I don't plan on making a Blue Sky account, but at the same time, if you guys are on it for a while and you're just having positive experiences, then it's like, yeah, I'll check it out. I'll go make an account because I'm not interested in being like attacked and bullied and fighting the outrage algorithm. But if that shit doesn't exist,
if you don't have
or if it's just,
oh man,
and if I can curate it so that it's just like just positive stuff, I could, you know, if I could like look at some like other game maker programmers, fitness stuff, and then like you're saying, block topics they might be posting about.
Like, I don't want to hear about your hot take on, I don't know, whatever's going on in the other side of the planet right now. I don't care. I'm not here for that. I'll read the news. You know, keep me out of it.
I'll hear about it, you know, as the dust settles. You know, So if it turns out that over time, as the platform grows and, you know, you guys are on it more, you know, we'll see.
Yeah. But Like I do. So they have another cool feature. 'Cause I think also from a game designer or software designer perspective in general, it's just a really interesting platform because of all the systems they have in place. Because the fact that they don't have an algorithmic driven approach to surface you sort of full on random engagement based content, right?
And no ads
means that they still have to make it easy for you to find stuff that you would pay attention to. Otherwise you're not going to stay, right? So they have to use other mechanisms. And I think there's a lot of interesting sort of design things going on there, and sort of social design things going on there. That from like if you make software for people, including games, there's some cool stuff. Because the other thing that they're doing is these starter packs, where anybody can make a list and people can see your list. So, and a list can just have a bunch of people in it, but also anybody can make what's called a starter pack, which is basically just a kind of list, but one where somebody can just like open it up. You can name it, right? They're searchable, so you can go search for people's starter packs.
Starter packs or
game starter pack. And they get real fucking niche, as you might expect, right? And so like whatever you want, you can be like, whatever starter pack, and see if one comes up. And then when you open it, it's just a list of people, and you could hit a subscribe to all button or follow all, whatever, right?
It's sort of like the opposite of a block list, right? It's like
it's exactly
a list maintained by someone else.
Yeah, it doesn't work the same way because a block list is passively updated. So like if people get added to it, you're now blocking them too. But with like a starter pack, you'd have to go like back to it to like.
It doesn't like
So it just kind of like mass subscribes you to everybody.
To whoever's in the list at that moment. But the thing that I like about it in particular is because I don't want to follow people just because they're in a list, because I want to follow people who do talk about stuff I'm interested in, not just who are interested in stuff that I'm interested in, right? And so, and who don't talk too much about stuff I'm not interested in, right? So it's trying to find that balance, right? So what I'll always do in a starter pack, because they also have a tab that's posts, right? So you can flip over to the post tab, and it's people in the starter pack, just chronologically ordered. What they've been posting. So then you can just like, so now it's basically a curated feed of people.
Get a little sample
in your
starter pack.
And then you can go find people in there who you're like, oh yeah, I like what this person's up to. So, and so it's a very cool way to find, because a lot of what I like to do is just discover like cool, weird programming stuff that people are doing, or see like what indie game devs are up to, like especially like early career ones who are just like trying stuff out and making their thing. And just, I think it's cool to watch people be pumped about like coming into the discipline, you know?
Yeah, that's what I've actually enjoyed about participating in it to the degree I have so far, which is very little. I mean, just post a couple times and that sort of thing. But it's like, it feels like you get more of that like inspirational and aspirational energy from it.
Yeah.
Than like what, again, like Seth, like what you're talking about. What it feels more like what it used to feel like, to be honest, being on the fucking internet.
There's just cool stuff happening, and then you gotta get hyped from it instead of.
I found this animator who's I was just like, the animations are impressive as fuck. Like if you pay attention to animation, you see them, you'd be like, wow, this person knows what the fuck they're doing. But the characters like stupid, simple, goofy things, doing dances and shit, right? But like, it's so good. It's all so good. And it's sort of like, I've never seen that before. It just like happened to pop up because I got one of these subscribed to these starter packs, whatever, for animators. And I was just like, this is so fun. Like I want to go make one of those things now. It's like a little short, like dancing.
So you're saying is you can hype scroll instead of doom scroll.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. I'm on the hype
and I'm following this science.
That's pretty dope.
I'm following the science feed. That's really cool because it's also like got this, because feeds are algorithmic, right? Somebody makes it. They like write their own code that processes the enormous blue sky feed and decides what goes in there, right? So you can, but they could be any algorithm then, just like whatever the person is doing, which means they could be fully curated. They could be just like, oh, stuff with this tag shows up. It could be kind of anything, right?
Oh, interesting.
And there's
basically a bunch of different. You can think about it like less like this flattening of culture problem you have in social media stuff, where it's like there's an algorithm that controls everything.
The algorithm.
There's
it's
just
more like
any
your algorithm,
exactly.
which and unlike, because people talk about like their TikTok algorithm, right? We're like, when they go to TikTok, you don't decide what TikTok is going to show you. It's going to show you stuff based on what it thinks you're going to want, right? And you don't get to like pop open the hood and tinker with your own algorithm.
Yeah. Versus in this case, you do, and I'm like, that's. Yes,
it's cool. Yes, there's a science one that is cool for a few reasons. But it's because they have some kind of a validation mechanism in it where once you've been validated, you can validate other people, right? So
clever.
So the way that you get stuff in it is you just use the little like there's like a vial emoji, you know, like a scientist, like a neon green goo vial, you know, and like if you just have that in your post, it basically kind of like becomes like available for possible inclusion into that feed. So you opt in via your post if you want to do it. But you can also
they've got like a peer review.
Yeah, but it's peer reviewed about whether you actually can get in there. And then once you're in there, then now anytime you tag a post that way, it just shows up. And then they have like an emoji system where different emojis like for different domains of science, right? So there's like a fish emoji if you're doing marine biology and so then you just have this like great feed of just actual scientists doing and talking about science.
Well,
and
also what you're talking about though is like the shape of the message, the shape of the thing is actually being morphed by the community,
dictated by the community,
as opposed to just like everyone. It reminds me of like what you see on YouTube and kind of everywhere right now, which is like trying to figure out how the fuck the algorithm works because you have to,
and trying to not like there have been times where I'll be like, how do I like replace this doorknob? You know. Yep. So I go to YouTube, I look it up, and suddenly I can't fucking escape home repair videos for the next 2 weeks. They're just everywhere.
Can't just go look at a thing.
And I'm like, look, I'm not a contractor. I just had one problem. Yep. It's fixed now. I want that one Stop problem. It. Stop giving me these videos.
Yeah, so but you can just flip over to that feed, and now you're seeing that feed, and then you can flip back. And I have my Discover page because they're always tinkering with it, but there's like a setting where you can have it so that your Discover page, I think it's just that one, yeah. But it'll basically you can opt in to having it pull in stuff from your other feeds, so you can like have that become an expansive one that's like biased towards like the stuff that you're subscribing to and the people you follow and stuff. But then kind of which I've actually been really enjoying because it kind of expands outward a bit, so I can still kind of like find other stuff. But that science one I like just in particular because that also makes it so that you can see if you're interested in like what are scientists doing in science, not like as people necessarily, right? But like as people in science.
Yes.
Then because they're tagging stuff that they're doing that's about the science that they're doing, then they on their feed, on their normal posts can still be about whatever the fuck they want. They can just tag the ones they want to be included in those feeds so that now instead of subscribing to those people, you can subscribe to the feed and see exactly what you want. And unfortunately for game dev, that hasn't quite happened yet. Where there's like a really nice complexity
there, right? But I think it's very, you're right that it's a very clever, there's a couple of those approaches that seem to be bubbling up. And especially the thing that's exciting to me about like tons of people showing up is that, you know, as the value of the platform goes up, which for any social media thing, the value of the platform is the sheer scale of it, coupled with, of course, all these design decisions, but it's always a scale question. As the value goes up, then you have more and more people who will do all the legwork to figure this shit out, right? For like making really cool feeds and like the fact that you can have these be so much more positive and everything else. I think it's really
because a lot of these features have probably been there for a long time. Yeah. It's just if there's like 1 million people on the platform, which sounds like a lot, but for a social media platform, it's 0 people, right? Yeah. Then at that point, it's like it doesn't matter if it has all these features because it's a search for stuff and there's nobody there.
Yeah, there's multiple because there has to be people there, but also they have to be people that basically volunteer their time to. It's like open source software, right? So
open source.
In game dev, there's a guy. I don't care what his studio is, but there's a guy from a small indie studio. His account's like Treezy, TREEZY something. But he runs because there's also a labeler system that you can subscribe to, and you can use that for moderation. So it's basically like you can have your own bespoke moderation service that people can subscribe to, and then if they're subscribed to it, they can add labels to things for each other, and then you can mute or whatever that same says. Like so, it's all bespoke kind of stuff, right? But so he's using it so that you can basically label like game devs to be like, so you can basically like get the game dev label. So if you're subscribed to that labeler, then as you're like scrolling through your feed of stuff, if someone is a game dev, then it'll have a little label. It's like game dev, or game studio or whatever, right?
Oh, interesting.
So he's got then like the labeler set up so you can like talk to it to then like ask for a label. And if you say like, I'm a studio, then it'll ask you to like verify in some way, and then it'll. So there's like this whole system, and it's just this one guy who's just been tinkering with this shit.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it just feels so much better because of all this weird like.
It's interesting.
It's interesting. Yeah. So I don't know if
I might check it out.
Yeah, if you're trying to click Twitter or again, if it's because I think that part of it for me is I've never been trying to. How to put it? You shouldn't only be running away from stuff to have to want to participate in something, right? It's not like, I just got to get off of this fucking Twitter. It's like, no, like where are we going?
That's the thing. I've personally never felt like there was value for me in Twitter or Instagram or whatever. Same. So like,
and I never did either. But I am actually having like I'm doing Blue Sky because I think it's fun. Like that's the actual reason, you know?
Wow.
And
crazy, motherfucker! And put that in the news.
And it's not because and I think that was a funny thing too. Because when it first started, there was no reason to be there because nobody else was there, right? So like and I got on it fairly early when it was still closed and stuff, but like there was just nobody there. But there were enough people that still people were talking. And it was just like, it was a really weird space at the beginning because of how small it was. But it was just
an echo chamber in the sense that people would say something and then it would reverberate off the walls because there's no other people in there.
Yeah. So then it's just been kind of fun to have I think as Seth, as you were saying, like growing up, we had like Stumble Upon, and we had these other weird internet experiences that felt like they were about people, right? Where it's like, you go to some fucking weirdo's weird ass website, right? And you learn about that weird dude and the stuff that he's into, right? And like so much cool. of the internet felt like that,
it's just people being excited about something and wanting to share it. Like that's what it was. That's what a lot of the internet, because also like a lot of the early internet was just nerds.
Yeah.
Right. And so it's like nerds who are just like doing weird shit. And then they're like, I got to make a website I want to make a blog post about this, whatever. Right. But then as it became more like, hey, tell us every thought you have all the time, no matter who you are or what you're doing, then it just kind of turns.
But in particular, in a way that lets us monetize it with ads, So I don't know, I think it's worth. I think if you think that at all, like that stuff sounds fun, because again, like there's no reason to do these things, right? Besides just you think it would be fun. Correct. I think it is. I think Blue Sky's growing fast enough right now. It seems to be like becoming the place that it might be a place where you could also like.
Well, but I think there is a reason, right? Because like if you can draw like inspiration and ideas and creativity from
that's what I mean. Yeah, like the reason
in a way,
is because you want to and you think it would be fun, right?
Yeah. In a way where you're not being buffeted by nonsense that you have to constantly, gird against, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Because we I feel like over the past decade, especially, there's been this like this mantra, that people just say themselves like, well, if you're going to put yourself out the internet, you got to get a thick skin.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, fucking why?
Yeah. Blue Sky's whole thing is just, it's like the whole like culture that was established before the influx was just, don't even sweat. Just block. Just for any reason at all. Just block people, right? It doesn't even be because you don't like them. It's just like, I don't want to see this. Just block. You never will again.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, people wouldn't say that about so many other things, right? It's like, oh yeah, like there's a local knitting community you want to join, but you got to have a thick skin. No. Like, why can't we just have things be fine? Yep. Can't we just treat each other fine and be able to not get harassed, right? That would be nice. Yeah. So it sounds like somebody's trying to do that.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I think it's worth giving a shot. If you are on there or going to go check it out, just know a few things. The main one is got to curate that shit. You got to curate it aggressively, but you can. That's the beauty of it. But it's not just going to give you stuff. So if you come in there and you're like, I'm kind of bored, you got to go do some work, to find people.
I mean,
and do stuff.
as a WoW player, the idea of booting up a piece of software and then having to spend 3 hours setting it up is totally fine.
It is a programmer, right? Yeah.
That's just how it happens.
Yeah, so there's that, but that's you choosing what you're going to see. So it's fun and interesting. And the other thing to know is that me and Sam are on there, and so is the studio. So you can
just search for us.
You can go see what we're up to. And if you don't like what we're up to,
just
block us for all I care. I don't give a shit.
Add us to a block list.
Add it to your like. People talk about shit I don't care about block list. It's fine. You just do whatever you want.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing that's making me be like, maybe this is worth getting on. Well, not the one thing, but like one thing that has jumped out is I have seen these articles popping up in the news about people migrating to Blue Sky, and some of the articles are basically people coming in, posting something horrible, like posting something racist or whatever, immediately getting added to a fuckload of block lists or getting outright banned from the platform, and then taking screenshots of their ban and the thing that they posted, and then going back to Twitter and freely posting that thing with no consequences so they can complain about how they were mistreated
in this liberal echo chamber.
Whatever. And they're like, what happened to tolerance? I'm like, that, you're a fucking idiot. Like, it's just, if you come in with the goal of making people feel like shit and harassing them, and then you're complaining about not being treated well.
Listen to my alternative viewpoints. It's like, you're just dumb, bad, and wrong. So no.
Yeah, nobody has to listen to your dumb shit.
Love it.
Yeah, and so I'm like, the volume of clearly bad actors loudly complaining about being mistreated on Blue Sky makes me think, hey, maybe check it out.
So maybe Sampy can go add all the links to at least me, Sam, and the studio. Blue Sky's there. So if you want to check us out, you can. And if Seth ends up with an account before this podcast goes live, then she can squeeze that one in there too. I wouldn't put money on it though.
I think maybe this weekend
Try it out.
I'll fire one up and tinker, see if I can find some good stuff. Yep. You guys have sold me on it.
Yeah, just
I think
worst case scenario, you hate it. To get off there, you know.
Yeah, and then I'll do what I did with every other platform, which is just stop using it immediately and move on with my life. All right, well, we're gonna do I think a abbreviated episode because we got 2 back to back. So and we've kind of overshot the past few weeks by like 20 minutes. So we're gonna wrap that up here so we can get right into recording the next one. So we'd like to thank our producers Fat Bart and Sampa DaCosta for putting the podcast together, and thanks to our community moderators who keep our Discord running. To get more involved in the Butterscotch community, you can go to podcast.bscotch.net, where we have links to the Discord, a way for you to donate, and links to the podcast archives. And if you haven't yet, head on over to Steam and give Crashlands 2 a wish list. It'll help boost it up the charts for the launch, and we'd appreciate it. Thank you all for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye.